And we'll go right along to the next speaker. I'd like to introduce Dr. Jenny Wilkins, who is a naturopathic doctor. She's the CEO of Vital Pharmacy in Sarasota, Florida. And she's also a media personality and television producer, making regular appearances on ABC, NBC, CBS, and many other channels. So without further ado, Dr. Jenny Wilkins will also speak to the similar topic.
Thank you very much. Can everybody hear me? Woohoo! Who's having fun? Okay, I apologize in advance. I have hyper tetrahydrocannabinoidism. Does anybody know what that is? Did you know that there's an actual clinical term for people that have natural production of THC? It's called anandamide. Did you guys know that? Yeah. And then you have hypoendocannabinoidism. So somebody that's deficient in cannabinoids. So I'm a biochemist and a doctor of natural medicine, and I love people. My passion is educating the consumer to make and become their own healthcare advocate. It's empowering. Knowledge is power, and we live in a time right now where everybody is being enslaved in the worst way possible. Who knows what type of slavery we're talking about right now? Chemical warfare, neurological warfare. Our bodies are being pumped with poisons, starting with waters, GMOs in our food, genetically modified garbage, foods, right? Even the Bible talks about, I give you only the herbs, the vegetables that produce seeds. Look at, in Genesis, we're talking about GMOs. How does an almighty God know that in the future we would bastardize our plants? That's what Big Pharma is doing right now. They're GMOing everything. I always challenge my pharmacy techs in my biotech facilities. I say, I urge you, go outside. This is a challenge. Go find a grape that has a seed in it. It's very rare to find a grape with seeds in it. I said, if it doesn't have a seed, don't eat it. It's synthetic, has absolutely no nutritional value. So these are little things as the consumer, these are little things that you can change in order to become healthier. Okay, food is medicine. Let your food be thy medicine and your medicine be thy food. Never has a truer word been spoken. Okay, we are what you eat. That's not true. We are what we're absorbing. 90% of our crops are genetically modified, meaning people are not extracting, pulling out the necessities that they need to feed and nourish their body. Brain function, neurological function, mitochondria, guts, skeletal, muscular, cellular. So if our foods don't have that sustenance, what does that mean? It means inflammation. And then what does Big Pharma do? They give you a drug. You go to a doctor, you have the 2-minute office visit, and I love my doctors. We need to give our doctors the tools that they need to be better providers, right? We have to go to the doctor's office and have doctors practice what's called functional, integrative, preventative medicine. Biology, not pharmacology. The consumer's not deficient in Adderall. You're not deficient in Xanax. I'm not going to be testing for Xanax deficiencies, receptor sites in your body for your anxiety. What is the body lacking when someone presents with anxiety? Go to your doctor and say, no, do a real biochemical metabolic pathway testing. Look at my vitamins, my minerals, my enzymes, my probiotics, my hormones, and then put back in the body what is no longer being produced or what I'm not pulling out of my foods. I live in toxic Babylon. If you look at the McDonald's, the fast food, the go, 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 everybody's in a rush. It's like we have lions chasing us all the time, right? And this leads to the obesity, the diabetes. Jamaica, you guys have an epidemic of diabetes and hypotension here. But you're not lisinopril deficient. You're not deficient in HCTZ. So how does one prevent and reverse diabetes? Cannabis plays a big role in that. I love to describe cannabinoids, the endocannabinoid system, as the conductor the conductor of your metabolic physiology. So just like you have someone, a conductor for a symphony, you have somebody that's the drill sergeant telling everything how to work. Those spark plugs, those circuits, that presynaptic, post, those neurons, the endocannabinoid system is the spark, that electrical charge that makes the connections for conversion, enzyme A, enzyme B, to enzyme C. It's a beautiful synergistic relationship, and I have news for you guys. Cannabinoids are not just in the cannabis plant. God put it in all whole foods, foods that nourish you. Mangoes have cannabinoids, black pepper, chili pepper, cacao, chocolate. Women, when you crave chocolate, why are you craving the chocolate? Especially when you're on your cycles, right? You're depressed, you're feeling down, you're having menstrual cramps. That chocolate has some of the highest CBD, cannabidiol, in there. So your body's craving because it knows that the CBD is in the chocolate, and it makes you feel good. Guys love to buy chocolate for women, right? Because it makes my wife happy, makes my girlfriend happy. That's amazing! Cannabinoids in our foods! And our foods are being GMO'd. That should infuriate you. So how do we find answers? How do we, change that? So we start changing that. I love Jamaica, by the way. Oh my gosh, I want to be Jamaican. I think this country deserves to be on the map as far as cannabinoid research, extraction, growing. I mean, this is the pioneers. You guys, for thousands of years, Bob Marley, oh my gosh, don't get me started on Marley's, right? Singing and everybody knowing that there is more to this plant, right? It's not just about kumbaya, my lord, let's get high. We are dealing with chronically ill consumers, and you deserve to have real medicines. Cannabinoids are great for acne. I use it for acne. I'm the medical director for a company in California called M3 Life Sciences. You can look it up. And we developed a line. I formulated a CBD product that gets rid of malaise, the acne, hyperpigmentation, gets rid of rosacea and eczema. We combine it with probiotics. Probiotics and cannabinoids are synergistically related. Israel right now, I speak in Israel twice a year. All the research that they're doing about enzymes in the gut and the human microbiome, and it all depends on the enzymes and the good bacteria in your stomach and having it be patient-specific and how someone metabolizes the cannabinoids. Yale University did a clinical trial in 2013. They published that 9% of the human race is genetically predisposed to become addicted to THC. So this is something I like to talk about because people just think, oh, well, it's natural, there can't be any side effects. There are side effects to the cannabinoids, just like there's side effects of drinking too much water. This is as natural as it gets. But there are millions of cases of people killing themselves because they drank too much water, right? So in order to keep it medicinal, we have to be responsible, right? Just like when you're drinking alcohol too. So alcohol has some medicinal properties. If you drink too much, your head's in the toilet, and you have a massive hangover the next day, migraine, nausea, sensitivity to light. So the goal should always be, if you're wanting to do it for medical purposes, know the science, education before recreation. So, and I have a list. I didn't know I wasn't going to have a PowerPoint. I had awesome pictures for you guys. There's different drugs that are contraindicated with the endocannabinoid system, different types of drugs, specifically the dangerous ones, and the dangers in the United States that's happening right now. And this happened to my own mother-in-law. She went to one of the local dispensaries. She had spinal surgery, and I told her about, cannabis, and I wanted her to go get a vape. She never vaped. She's an old Southern Baptist Christian lady, super, super posh. So she went to the dispensary, and a half hour after she left, she got into a car crash. So these centers need pharmacists and doctors and scientists there to educate the consumer. If she would have came into a pharmacy, my pharmacist, my techs would have educated her. You know what? You're kinda curious. You've never done this before. Let's go ahead and have you try this when you get home. right? That would have been a more responsible route, and then she would have never gotten into a car accident. So there is such a thing as getting too high. And then Yale University did a study that showed 96% of the consumers not looking to get high. They just want to live, not just exist. They're in chronic pain. They have cancer. They have debilitating neurological disorders, the MS, the Parkinson's, the spasticity, the gait, the insomnia. These are all neuropsychiatric disorders. And instead of going the functional route and being given real medicines, cannabis, or vitamins and minerals and enzymes, they're being doped up with oxycodone and oxycontin and Wellbutrin and Prozac. And these medications damage the prefrontal cortex of the brain. You know what I tell my mommies? I said, you know who the #1 abuser of Adderall was? Who was doing clinical trials on Adderall? Hitler. They're shocked. I said, and look what he turned out to be. I don't know about here, but in the United States, we have children in school shooting one another, angry employees shooting other employees. And then when you look at what they were on, they're on all these psych meds, parents throwing their kids off of bridges. It's mental warfare, it's chemical warfare. We all deserve to have access to real medicine, not to be sick. You deserve it, you deserve it, I deserve it. And they do this with everything. Folic acid, for example, synthetic folate, cyanocobalamin, cyanide B12, synthetic. The God-given one is called methylcobalamin. Sodium ascorbate is the natural, vitamin C. And then they have ascorbic acid, which is a synthetic. What happens when you put synthetic anything in your body? You have side effects. The birth control. I was just talking to somebody here about the birth control. Women going through menopause or having heavy menstruations. Big Pharma gives you pig thyroid, armor thyroid, that's derived from pigs. So if you're taking that, you're not a pig, get off of it. Or Premarin for hot flashes and night sweats. It's derived from a pregnant horse's urine. We're not horses. We're not animals. Why are we taking supplements that belong in an animal? Could you imagine if I went to a horse and gave them human estrogen? And their sugars. Come on, you guys all know the high fructose corn syrup is the synthetic version of fructose. Aspartame, another synthetic sugar. Dextrose, multidextrose, saccharin, all of these sugars. Our body, our biochemistry, fructose, glucose, sucrose. 3 sugars. Cane sugar. You guys grow cane sugar here. You should be eating cane sugar. Why get all the crap that's being imported here? I know I ordered some stuff at one of the restaurants and one of the ingredients was high fructose corn syrup. And I said, Jamaica makes cane sugar. You guys make real sugar. We should be manufacturing real medicines here and importing it out to all the other Americans that are sick everywhere, right? We should be developing here, growing, going to the Administration of Health, and standardizing the entire cannabis industry. Making suppositories, vaginal suppositories, rectal suppositories, for anal fissures, for pelvic floor pain, for hemorrhoids. Natural opiates, right? That opioid cascade. Cannabinoids work on that opiate cascade, and then there's no side effects with it. You might pass out a little bit, but your wits are still there. You're not going to wake up with your body hurting because it depleted your electrolytes and you're having leg cramps and your eye is twitching and your hair's falling out. Chemotherapy is not the answer for cancers. Everybody knows cancers. I'm a biochemist. Every single cancer patient has fermentation in the blood, and our doctors are not taught to look for fermentation in the blood. Bacteria. Where is all this bad fungus and mold coming from? Bad farming processes, right? We're not farming the way we should be farming, and we're GMOing all of our fruits and vegetables. So then, yes, the body accumulates all of this fungus, and then inflammation occurs in the gut, in the head, in your ovaries, in your testes, in your cells. I had a PowerPoint. Anybody wants to talk to me right afterwards. I have this little girl that came into my pharmacy that had stage 4 leukemia. And she went to one of the hearings in Florida. She was 3 years old when I met her. Her name is Lily. And they gave her 1 week to live after they chemoed and radiated her to death. They put a port and they gave her chemo through the spine. This little girl was so sick, and she lost 15 pounds. 15 pounds on a 3-year-old girl. She was all skin and bones, and she would scream when anybody would touch her. It was the most horrifying sound. And it made me so sad to know that there was another answer for her. That there was light at the end of the tunnel. God loved that little girl because I happened to run into her family at one of the hearings. And they didn't have the money to go somewhere that had cannabis that was legalized. And I said, nope, I'm going to court with you. We're going to save Lily and we're going to treat her. So I got other doctors, neurologists, oncologist, myself. I got an attorney. We went to court. We fought for her. The social services wanted to take her away from her parents after saying, oh, you have 1 week to live, and if you refuse hospice, you're doing child abuse. You know what was child abuse? Is the chemotherapy that they forced that family to do. They should have the right to say, no, I don't need to be poisoned with mustard gas. Make the body weaker. You're going to burn all the receptor sites that are there and programmed to protect you. You make the body stronger, the body heals itself. If a plant is dying, you fertilize it and water it, right? So it's the same thing with the body. How do we water and fertilize our bodies? Vitamins, minerals, enzymes. And I'm running out of time, do you see? I need like a whole entire day and a big old screen because I have awesome before and after pictures. Long story short, after given 1 week to live, Lily, 6 weeks later, she was alive and her leukemia was gone. Stage 4. Clap. This should be a clapping moment, okay? Because now a mommy has a little girl that gets to be raised and run around, and she runs around in her store. She calls me Dr. Princess Jasmine, and I have to sing to her. And now she's alive. And I have thousands and thousands and thousands of doctors that have cases like this. So I want to standardize here that we should be growing cannabis here because there's 50,000 different things that we could be using cannabis for, not just medicine. We could be making water bottles, paper, tampons, hairbrushes, toothpicks, the auxiliary, what that would do for the economy here, and then not to mention shipping out to different countries that are not standardizing this. Does anybody have any questions? I know I'm talking too much.
All right, thank you, Dr. Wilkins. So, anyone has any questions? Dr. Wilkins? Dr. Pat, yeah.
I don't want to sound like a troublemaker, but I disagree with a lot of what you said. A lot of what you said is not scientific, and it might be sounding popular. You cure stage 4 leukemia in 1 week. It's really hard for me to believe.
6 weeks.
6 weeks, even 6 weeks, it's hard to believe. Then I'd like to point out some other things. There are different food groups. You have proteins, which are broken down to amino acids. Carbohydrates broken down to glucose. You have complex fats broken down to simple fatty acids. So when you say that if I'm not here supporting GMO, but if there's a GMO grape, like you said, that grape will grow and have nutrients in it, whether it be proteins or carbohydrates or what it is. And when you eat that, your gastrointestinal tract will break it down. So if it have complex carbohydrates, it will break down to glucose, and your body will then use that glucose to make and use it how it wants. If it's complex fatty acids, you'll break it down to simple fatty acids, and your body will absorb that and use it to make what it wants. So if it's protein, you break it down to amino acids, and your body use that to make what it wants. So when you come and you give the impression that GMO food don't have any food value, or that it is giving people fungus or whatever you say in the blood. People should not take that and go away with it, because if you eat a fungus or whatever and it hits your stomach, your acids and enzymes will denature that enzyme or whatever you give it and chop it up back to its basic form, and the body will use it. So I don't want you come and telling people about they eating food and fungus in their bloodstream, fermenting and things like that. That is not medical science.
All right. Yeah, respond.
Partially right. You're talking about whole foods. Yeah, the body recognizes how to metabolize real sugar. When it doesn't recognize it, if high fructose corn syrup is entered into the body looks at it and says, wow, that looks like fructose, but it metabolizes it in a foreign way. It's an up-regulatory effect. And I wasn't talking about animals and proteins, okay? Tryptophan comes from turkey. Your body converts it into 5-HTP, then the 5-HTP into serotonin, then serotonin into 5-HIA, then 5-HIA gets activated by the endocannabinoid system to convert to melatonin that tells your body, night, night, it's time to go to sleep. So if you want to sit down and draw the whole entire metabolic physiology and the molecular structures for them, I would be happy to do that for you. But there's other doctors here that would sit down and tell you, are you a scientist or a PhD or a biochemist or a pharmacist? So GMOs are bad. Your body does not know how to naturally metabolize. So I will agree with that. It will foreignly metabolize it, shoot it back up, kind of like a hose being bent that has water. So when you bend that hose, what happens when you're bending that hose? All the water gets spewed out, right? And what is that spewing out? Oxidative stress on your cells, damages like a ping pong machine in your body. So that's good, but this isn't really the time and place to go through the whole entire biochemical makeup of it too. We can go after that. We can talk about it. I would love to hear your thoughts. But you got to remember who you're speaking to. I'm a biochemist. Yeah.
All right. All right, hold on. Let me give you the mic. But you have to be clear on what, because it does sound like you're advocating for GMO.
No, I am not defending GMO. We have to carry the point a little further. If the body sees fructose or galactose or any of the other sugars, whether it be 2, 6 carbon or 6 and 5, you have enzymes which will break that down. And the foundation is glucose, and that is what the body will use. And you giving the impression that the body cannot recognize certain sugars, so hence cannot metabolize it, that is not science.
All right, well, I'm going to get a couple of comments, and then we'll just, so we can, because we have to wrap up real soon. So, Sister Aisha, yeah.
Yeah, you make your respond, man.
All right, I'm going to get back to that because I just want to put in our concerns. All right, we have been having lots of seminars. This in particular is one of the best. We have been having seminars all over Jamaica, all kind of symposiums. Everything's about ganja and who should own it. I just want to know, any improvement anywhere? Any improvement with all of these seminars?
That can be addressed on the closing session, Sister Aisha, Any more comments pertaining to the presentation from Jenny Wilkins? All right, so just, closing, yeah.
And I'd like to go back to that comment. Yeah, your body knows how to break down glucose. The sugars, the real sugars, it breaks it down. The other ones, it metabolizes it and breaks it down foreignly and causes oxidative stress, which leads to cancers and inflammation. So I think he's probably on the same team, but he's not understanding. I am speaking English, right? Not Spanish? So, but I think this is one of the best conferences I've ever been to. I go to them internationally. I speak in Spain, I speak in Germany, and I love the Jamaican people. I'm working closely with Steve Marley and Mike Tyson on developing new products too. I think bringing Kaya Life to Jamaica would be a wonderful thing. Products that are not from GMO and that are natural, not tampered with, that your body knows how to metabolize the right way, not the foreign way. So, and again, I love people and I want people to live healthy, clean, happy lives, right? Not to be sick and obese and diabetic and inflamed and cancered and demented in a nursing home, not knowing who your family members are. So that would be my closing thoughts. Thank you so much for inviting me, Ross.
All right, thank you, Dr. Wilkins. Give her another round of applause. Good, good time.